Hello and welcome back to English Progress Podcast. My name is Liam, and today I want to talk about something that almost everyone does, something that steals our peace, something that keeps us awake at night, something that makes simple situations feel much bigger than they really are. Overthinking. Let me ask you something. Have you ever sent a message and then checked your phone every few minutes waiting for a reply? Have you ever replayed a conversation in your head and wondered if you said something wrong? Have you ever imagined 10 different future problems before anything bad actually happened? If your answer is yes, you are definitely not alone. Today, we are going to explore why we overthink everything, what happens inside our minds when we do it, and how we can slowly break this habit. And while we learn about this topic, you will naturally improve your English too.
So grab a cup of coffee, relax, and let's begin. Imagine this situation. You send a message to a friend. Normally, they reply quickly, maybe within 10 minutes. But today, 1 hour passes. Then 2 hours. Then 3. Suddenly, your mind starts creating stories. Maybe they are angry. Maybe I said something wrong. Maybe they don't want to talk to me anymore. Maybe our friendship is changing. The interesting thing is that you don't actually know any of this. You only know one fact. They haven't replied yet. Everything else is a story created by your brain. This is a great example of overthinking. Overthinking happens when we spend too much time thinking about something without finding a useful solution. We go in circles. We think and think and think, but we never arrive anywhere. A useful word here is assume. To assume means to believe something without having enough information. Many overthinkers spend
A lot of time assuming things. And assumptions often create unnecessary stress. I remember a story from my university days. One afternoon, I sent an important email to a professor. I needed permission for a project. A whole day passed without a reply. Then, another day. My brain immediately started working overtime. Overtime usually means working extra hours, but we can also use it informally when the brain keeps working too much. I started imagining every possible problem. Maybe the professor hated my idea. Maybe the email sounded rude. Maybe I had made a terrible mistake. For 3 days, I worried. Then finally, I received a reply. The professor apologized and explained that he had simply been traveling. That was it. Nothing dramatic, nothing terrible. All that stress came from my imagination. Maybe you have experienced something similar. The funny thing about overthinking is that it often feels productive. It feels like we are solving problems. But many times, we are only creating more problems. Think about this. If you spend 2 hours worrying about something that never happens, did those 2 hours help you? Probably not. In fact, they may have made you feel tired, anxious, and distracted. Here's another useful word. Anxious. Anxious means feeling worried or nervous about something. Many people confuse anxiety with preparation. They think that worrying will somehow protect them from future problems. But worrying and preparing are not the same thing. Preparation involves action. Worrying usually involves imagination. One moves you forward, the other keeps you stuck. Now, let's talk about something fascinating. Why does the human brain do this? Why are we so good at imagining negative situations? Scientists believe this habit comes from our ancient past. Thousands of years ago, humans
faced real dangers every day. Wild animals, harsh weather, lack of food. The people who noticed possible dangers were often more likely to survive. Their brains were constantly asking questions.
What could go wrong? That survival system still exists inside us today. The problem is that modern life is very different. Most of us are not running from wild animals, but our brains still search for threats. Sometimes the threat is a delayed text message. Sometimes it's an upcoming exam. Sometimes it's a conversation we haven't even had yet. The brain treats these situations as important problems that need immediate attention. And that's when overthinking begins. Let me teach you another useful expression. Jump to conclusions. To jump to conclusions means to make a decision before knowing all the facts. For example, if your friend doesn't answer your message and you immediately think they are angry, you are jumping to conclusions. Many overthinking habits begin with this simple mistake. Now, let me ask you something. What are you overthinking right now? Maybe it's your future? Maybe it's your studies? Maybe it's your career? Maybe it's a relationship.
Take a moment and think about it. Now, ask yourself a different question. How much of this situation is based on facts, and how much is based on fear? That question alone can change everything. One reason overthinking is so powerful is because the brain loves certainty. Certainty means knowing exactly what will happen. Unfortunately, life doesn't work that way. Life contains uncertainty, and many people find uncertainty uncomfortable. So the brain tries to fill in the missing information. It creates stories, predictions, possibilities. Unfortunately, those possibilities are often negative. There is another useful word for you: uncertainty. Uncertainty means not knowing what will happen. Learning to live with uncertainty is one of the most important life skills you can develop. Because the truth is simple. No one knows exactly what will happen tomorrow. Not me, not you, not anyone. The people who seem calm are not people who know the future. They are people who have learned to accept uncertainty. Now, let's talk about something practical. What can you do when you notice yourself overthinking? First, separate facts from stories. Imagine you applied for a job and haven't received a response.
The fact is simple. You have not received a response. The story might be, they rejected me. They don't like me. I will never find a good job. Notice the difference. One is reality. The others are assumptions. Second, take action, if action is possible. Many problems become smaller when we do something. If you are worried about an exam, study. If you are worried about your health, schedule a checkup. If you are worried about a project, work on it. Action often reduces anxiety. Third, set a time limit for thinking. This might sound strange, but it works. Give yourself 10 minutes to think about the problem. Write your thoughts down. Then move on with your day. Without limits, the brain can think about the same issue for hours, and usually nothing useful happens. Fourth, remember that thoughts are not facts. This idea is extremely important. Just because you think something does not mean it is true. Your mind produces thousands of thoughts every day. Some are helpful, some are not. You do not have to believe every thought that appears in your head. Imagine standing beside a road and watching cars pass by. You don't chase every car. You simply watch them. Thoughts can be treated the same way. You notice them, you observe them, and sometimes you let them pass. Here's something interesting. Many successful people still overthink. The difference is that they don't let overthinking control their decisions. Courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is moving forward despite fear. You don't need perfect confidence.
before taking action. You only need enough courage to take the next step. And often, that next step creates clarity. A beautiful word here is clarity. Clarity means understanding something clearly. Many people wait for clarity before acting. But in reality, action often creates clarity. You learn by doing. You grow by trying. You discover answers while moving forward. Before we finish today, I want you to remember one simple idea. Most of the things you worry about will never happen, and many of the things that do happen will not be as bad as you imagine. Your mind is powerful. It can create wonderful possibilities, but it can also create unnecessary fear. The goal is not to stop thinking. The goal is to think wisely, to focus on facts, to take action when possible, and to accept uncertainty when action is not possible. So the next time you catch yourself overthinking, pause for a moment and ask yourself, am I solving a problem, or am I simply feeding my fear?
That single question might change your entire day, and maybe even your life. Thank you for spending these minutes with me. Thank you for listening, learning, and improving your English with me. Remember this: you cannot control every situation. You cannot predict every outcome, but you can control your response. And sometimes the strongest thing you can do is trust yourself enough to move forward without having all the answers. Because life is not about knowing everything. Life is about continuing your journey even when some pages of the story are still unwritten. I'll see you in the next episode of English Progress Podcast. Until then, keep learning, keep growing, and keep making progress. Bye for now.